Commander Sarah Chen stood motionless on the bridge of the Starcutter, her breath steady despite the weight of the moment. Through the vast observation window, Jupiter's swirling storms provided a dramatic backdrop to the most terrifying sight humanity had ever witnessed. The Imperial Armada stretched across space like a glittering constellation of destruction, their sleek vessels moving with mechanical precision. Counting 2,700 Imperial ships, Commander Lieutenant Rodriguez reported from his station, his voice barely above a whisper. Multiple vessel classes. Their formation indicates this is their primary assault fleet. Chen nodded, her dark eyes tracking the movement of the enemy vessels. The Starcutter's revolutionary quantum cloak kept them invisible, tucked safely in the shadow of Jupiter's largest moon, Ganymede. Their experimental vessel, barely 3 months out of the Titan shipyards, represented humanity's last hope against an enemy that had systematically destroyed every major defense outpost from Pluto to Mars. Atlas. Chen addressed the ship's eye coordinator. Analysis of their formation pattern. A gentle blue hologram materialized beside her, taking the form of a classical Greek statue that slowly rotated. The Imperial fleet maintains a hexagonal lattice formation, Commander. Each capital ship is surrounded by precisely 6 support vessels. Their positioning suggests they rely heavily on synchronized movements and coordinated targeting systems. Dr. Emily Park, their lead quantum physicist, approached the command platform with a datapad in hand. Her usual composed demeanor showed cracks of excitement. Commander, we're detecting something fascinating in their ship-to-ship communications. The quantum interference patterns are unlike anything we've seen before. Chen turned to her science officer, raising an eyebrow. Explain. They're using light itself as a communication medium, Park continued, pulling up a complex diagram in the air between them. Not traditional transmissions, but rather quantum-entangled photons in a precisely choreographed dance. It's brilliant, but also potentially their greatest vulnerability. The bridge fell silent as the implications sank in. The Starcutter's quantum engine, designed to bend and manipulate light in ways that defied conventional physics, might be more than just a stealth system. In the right hands, it could become a weapon against the Empire's supposedly invincible Armada. Dr. Park, Chen said, her mind racing with possibilities. How quickly can you analyze their communication patterns? With Atlas's help, we could have a preliminary model in 3 hours. But Commander, Park hesitated, glancing at the massive fleet through the window. What you're suggesting would be incredibly risky. One mistake in our calculations, and we'll alert them to our presence. Chen walked to the tactical display, where the Imperial fleet's trajectory clearly pointed toward Earth. Their homeworld, already strained from evacuating its orbital stations, would stand no chance against such overwhelming force. The Starcutter's crew of 30 represented humanity's final card in a game they were destined to lose, unless they could change the rules. We're beyond playing it safe, Chen declared, her voice carrying across the bridge with quiet authority. Our mission was to gather intelligence on their fleet movements, but on changing those orders. If we can disrupt their communications, we might have a chance to stop this invasion before it reaches Earth. Rodriguez straightened at his station. The quantum engine has never been tested for this kind of precision work, Commander. We'd be pushing it well beyond its designed parameters. Then we'll rewrite the parameters, Chen replied, a slight smile crossing her face. Humanity didn't get to the stars by staying within safe limits. Park, coordinate with Atlas and start your analysis. Rodriguez, I want a complete diagnostic of our quantum engine's capabilities. Lieutenant Hayes, plot us a course that keeps us in Jupiter's shadow, but gives us multiple attack vectors. As her crew jumped into action, Chen watched the Imperial fleet continue its relentless advance. They expected to find a primitive species cowering before their technological superiority. Instead, they would learn a crucial lesson about humanity's greatest strength: the ability to adapt, innovate, and overcome impossible odds. Dr. Emily Park's fingers danced across multiple holographic displays as she studied the intricate patterns of light flowing between the Imperial vessels. 3 hours had stretched into 5 as the complexity of the enemy's communication network revealed itself. Atlas projected real-time analysis beside her, the AI's calculations spinning out in elaborate fractals. "It's beautiful," Park whispered, more to herself than anyone else. "They're using quantum-entangled photons as a neural network. Each ship acts like a node in a vast, living organism." Commander Chen stood beside her, watching the patterns shift and flow. "Can we interfere with it?" "Better." Park's eyes lit up with the excitement of discovery. "We can join it. The Starcutter's quantum engine doesn't just bend light, Commander. It can create and manipulate entangled photons. With precise calibration, we could insert our own signals into their network." Lieutenant Rodriguez approached with his own set of diagnostics. "The engine can handle it, but we'll need to modify our emission arrays. 1 degree off in our calculations, and we'll stick out like a supernova in their network." Chen studied the technical readouts, her expression thoughtful. The Imperial fleet had begun complex maneuvers around Jupiter's orbital plane, their movements synchronized with mathematical precision. Each ship maintained perfect position relative to its neighbors, creating an ever-shifting geometric pattern that was both mesmerizing and lethal. "Atlas," Chen called out. "Display tactical projection alpha." The AI complied, and a 3-dimensional map of the space around Jupiter materialized in the center of the bridge. The Imperial fleet appeared as red points of light, their formation rippling like a silk sheet in the wind. "Their coordination is absolute," Atlas observed, highlighting the pattern with connecting lines of light. "Each vessel's position is continuously calculated and adjusted based on input from the entire fleet. No human battle group could maintain such precision." "That's their weakness," Chen said, stepping into the hologram. "Perfect coordination means perfect dependence. If we can disrupt their network, the whole formation could collapse," Park finished, quickly catching on. "But Commander, inserting false signals would require us to understand their command protocols. 1 wrong message, and they'll detect the intrusion immediately." Lieutenant Hayes spoke up from the helm. "We're picking up increased activity in their fleet. They're beginning their final approach vector toward Earth." Chen's decision was immediate. "We don't have time for perfect understanding. Dr. Park, focus on their basic navigational signals first. Lieutenant Rodriguez, begin the engine modifications. Atlas, I want you to analyze every variation in their communication patterns. There must be a hierarchy to their network, priority channels we can target." The bridge crew moved with purpose, but Park lingered for a moment. "Commander, what you're suggesting? It's like trying to hack a quantum computer while it's running. The complexity is astronomical." "Then we'll start simple," Chen replied, her voice carrying the quiet confidence that had earned her crew's trust. "Every communication system, no matter how advanced, needs a basic protocol for identifying friend from foe. Find that, and we can create uncertainty. In battle, uncertainty kills." The next 2 hours transformed the Starcutter's bridge into a fusion of scientific laboratory and tactical command center. Park and Atlas worked in seamless synchronization, mapping the invisible lanes of light that bound the Imperial fleet together. Rodriguez's engineering team pushed the quantum engine to its limits, fine-tuning it to match the exact frequencies of the enemy's network. Through it all, Chen watched the Imperial fleet continue its inexorable advance. Each passing minute brought Earth closer to destruction, but it also revealed more about their enemy's greatest strength and potentially fatal flaw. The Empire had built its military might on the assumption that perfect coordination meant invincibility. They were about to learn that perfection, when disrupted, becomes chaos. "Commander," Park called out, her voice tense with excitement. "We've isolated their primary recognition protocols. The quantum engine is calibrated and ready." Chen took her command seat, eyes fixed on the massive fleet ahead. "Then it's time to teach the Empire about humanity's specialty, creative destruction. Atlas, begin Operation Lightbreak. Let's show them how dangerous a single ship can be. Atlas projected a miniature version of the Starcutter beside the tactical display, highlighting the modified quantum arrays in pulsing blue light. Final simulations complete, Commander. Our probability of successful network infiltration stands at 68%. Commander Chen studied the projection as her crew made their final preparations. The Imperial fleet had begun its slingshot maneuver around Jupiter, using the gas giant's gravity to accelerate toward Earth. Their formation remained flawless, each ship moving with robotic precision. 68% will have to do, Chen decided, turning to Dr. Park. Walk me through the insertion sequence one more time. Park brought up a detailed hologram of their target area. We'll approach from below the orbital plane, using Ganymede's magnetic field to mask our initial power spike. The quantum engine will generate a pulse of entangled photons, matched to their recognition frequencies. If our calculations are correct, their network will read us as routine signal noise. And if we're wrong, Rodriguez asked from his engineering station. Then we'll have 2,700 Imperial ships firing at us simultaneously, Park replied with a grim smile. But they'll have to find us first. Lieutenant Hayes's voice cut through the tension. Commander, they're reaching the optimal gravity assist point. It's now or never. Chen took her command seat, feeling the weight of Earth's future settling on her shoulders. Atlas, initiate stealth protocols. Lieutenant Hayes, take us in. Dr. Park, power up the quantum arrays. Let's make every photon count. The Starcutter glided out from its hiding place, its revolutionary engine humming at a frequency that made the deck plates vibrate subtly. They approached the Imperial formation from beneath, looking up at the vast array of warships spread out above them like a metal sky. First target identified, Atlas announced, highlighting a support vessel near the formation's edge. This ship processes navigational data for its local cluster. Disrupting its inputs should create a ripple effect through their network. Chen leaned forward. Dr. Park, status of the quantum arrays. Operating at 97% efficiency, Park reported, her hands moving across her controls with practiced precision. Atlas has mapped their recognition protocols. We can begin transmission on your mark. The bridge fell silent as Chen surveyed the tactical display one final time. Years of naval training told her to retreat, to wait for reinforcements that would never come. But humanity's survival required something else. The courage to attempt the impossible. Send the signal, Chen ordered. Let's introduce some chaos into their perfect order. Park and Atlas worked in concert, their actions synchronized with millisecond precision. The quantum engine's hum deepened as it generated the first pulse of carefully crafted photons. On the tactical display, lines of light representing their false signals wove into the Imperial network, like threads into a tapestry. Signal accepted, Atlas reported. Their recognition protocols are processing our data as authentic. Beginning Phase 2, Navigational Disruption. The target ship's position shifted almost imperceptibly, adjusting its course based on the false data. The movement was tiny, barely visible to the human eye, but in the Imperial's precisely calculated formation, it was enough. Their local network is attempting to compensate, Park announced, excitement creeping into her voice. Neighboring ships are receiving conflicting positional data. The cascade is beginning. Chen watched as the disturbance spread through the enemy formation like ripples in a pond. Ships began making minute course corrections, each adjustment forcing others to respond. The perfect geometric pattern of their formation started to show its first tiny flaws. They haven't detected us, Rodriguez confirmed, monitoring the enemy's scanning frequencies. Their systems are too busy trying to resolve the positional conflicts. A slight smile crossed Chen's face as she watched the Imperial fleet's legendary precision begin to falter. Now we know it works. Atlas, prepare the next set of target coordinates. Dr. Park, recalibrate the quantum arrays. This was just our opening move. Time to show the Empire what real chaos looks like. The Imperial fleet's outer formation had begun to distort, its perfect geometric pattern developing subtle imperfections. Commander Chen watched the tactical display as entire sections of the enemy armada adjusted their positions, trying to compensate for the false navigational data flooding their network. Multiple ships reporting positioning errors, Atlas announced, tracking the cascade of effects through the enemy fleet. Their command and control nodes are attempting to resolve conflicts in their targeting matrices. Dr. Park's hands flew across her control panel, fine-tuning their quantum signals. The Imperial ships are increasing power to their communication arrays. They're trying to overcome the interference by strengthening their network connections. Perfect, Chen smiled. They're just making our signal carrier stronger. Atlas, identify their primary command node for this sector. The AI highlighted a massive vessel near the center of the formation, its hull gleaming with exotic alloys. Imperial Dreadnought designated Eternal Dominion. It coordinates battle operations for approximately 300 support vessels in its immediate vicinity. Lieutenant Hayes adjusted their position, keeping the Starcutter in the shadow of the confusion they created. Commander, we're seeing increased energy readings. Some of their ships are powering up weapons systems. They know something's wrong, Rodriguez reported from engineering. But they're still treating it as a system malfunction rather than an attack. Our quantum signature is holding. Chen studied the tactical display, watching the patterns of disruption spread through the enemy fleet. The Imperial ships' attempts to correct their positions were only making things worse, creating a feedback loop of conflicting data. It was time to accelerate their plan. Dr. Park, prepare a focused quantum pulse. Target the Eternal Dominion's primary communication array. Atlas, calculate optimal firing position to maximize signal propagation through their network. The bridge crew worked with practiced efficiency, their actions honed by countless drills. The Starcutter's quantum engine hummed at a higher pitch as they channeled more power into their modified arrays. Position locked, Hayes reported. We'll have a clean shot at their command node, but we'll be exposed for approximately 3 seconds. Chen nodded. That's all we need. Dr. Park, on my mark, release the pulse. Lieutenant Rodriguez, be ready to divert emergency power to the quantum cloak. We hit them hard, then vanish before they can track us. The massive Imperial Dreadnought loomed ahead, its dark hull decorated with the geometric patterns that signified its elite status. Around it, smaller vessels continued their erratic movements, their formation deteriorating further as conflicting orders spread through their network. Ready for quantum pulse, Park announced. Signal configured to match their enhanced communication protocols. Their own attempts to strengthen their network have given us the perfect attack vector. Chen took a deep breath, feeling the familiar calm of combat settle over her. Execute. The Starcutter's quantum arrays flared to life, releasing a precisely calibrated burst of entangled photons. The pulse struck the Eternal Dominion's communication array and dispersed, spreading through the Imperial network like a virus. On the tactical display, hundreds of enemy ships suddenly received contradictory identification signals. Multiple targeting systems activating, Hayes called out. They're reading friendly ships as hostile contacts. The effect was immediate and devastating. Defensive screens flared to life across the formation as ships began reacting to phantom threats. The Eternal Dominion's automated defense systems, confused by the conflicting data, launched a spread of warning shots that scattered its own support vessels. Quantum cloak engage, Rodriguez reported as they slipped away from the chaos. We're running silent. Through the bridge viewport, they watched as the mighty Imperial fleet began to tear itself apart. Ships fired warning shots at perceived intruders, only to find they were targeting their own allies. The perfect formation dissolved into pockets of confusion as vessel after vessel reported security breaches that didn't exist. Chen allowed herself a moment of satisfaction before focusing on their next move. Atlas, begin analyzing their response patterns. They'll try to reestablish control. We need to be ready for their countermeasures. Commander, Park called out, her voice urgent. I'm detecting new quantum signatures. The Imperial fleet is attempting to reset their entire communication network. Then we've got them, Chen replied. They're about to learn that in the dark, everyone looks like an enemy. Prepare for Phase 2. We're not just going to disrupt their network, we're going to make it turn against them. Lieutenant Rodriguez's warning cut through the bridge's atmosphere of cautious victory. Commander, we have a situation with the quantum engine. Power fluctuations are exceeding safety parameters. Commander Chen turned from the tactical display, where the Imperial fleet continued its descent into chaos. Specifics, Lieutenant. Each quantum pulse is creating micro-tears in the engine's containment field, Rodriguez explained, sending detailed diagnostics to the main screen. The more we manipulate their network, the more strain we put on our systems. We're pushing the experimental technology beyond its design limits. Dr. Park moved to Rodriguez's station, her expression tightening as she studied the readings. The quantum entanglement effect is growing stronger than anticipated. Their attempts to reinforce their network are actually amplifying our signals, but it's creating feedback in our engine core. Through the viewport, they watched as another section of the Imperial fleet descended into confusion. Ships fired warning shots at phantom enemies, their perfect formation now fractured into clusters of paranoid vessel groups. The Eternal Dominion had gone silent, its command network overwhelmed by contradictory data. Atlas, Chen called out, analysis of the Imperial fleet's current status. The AI's hologram appeared, displaying real-time battle statistics. Approximately 40% of their vessels are operating under compromised targeting systems. However, I'm detecting organized resistance forming in their outer sectors. They're attempting to isolate their network into smaller independent groups. They're learning to adapt, Hayes observed from the helm, breaking their communication channels into smaller networks to limit the spread of our false signals. Chen studied the tactical display, watching as sections of the Imperial fleet began to reorganize themselves. The enemy's response was logical, but it presented an unexpected opportunity. Dr. Park, could we use their network segregation against them? Park's eyes lit up with understanding. Yes, we could. If they're creating isolated network clusters, each group will develop its own recognition protocols. Atlas and I could modify our quantum signals to make these clusters identify each other as hostile. The strain on the engine will increase exponentially, Rodriguez warned. We might only get 1 or 2 more major disruption pulses before system failure. Chen nodded, processing the tactical implications. Then we make them count. Atlas, identify the largest clusters forming in their fleet. Dr. Park, prepare targeted quantum pulses for each group. Lieutenant Hayes, plot us a course that maximizes our coverage area. As the crew worked to implement her orders, Chen observed the Imperial fleet's continuing transformation. What had started as a perfect formation of synchronized warships had become a scattered collection of suspicious battle groups, each now treating their former allies as potential threats. Commander, Atlas announced, I'm detecting a new signal pattern. The Imperial ships are attempting to establish a baseline authentication protocol. They're trying to create a way to identify true friendlies from our false signals. Park looked up from her calculations. We can't let them succeed. If they establish a new authentication system, we'll lose our advantage. But matching this many different protocols at once will push our engine past its breaking point, Rodriguez finished. We need to decide. One massive pulse to disrupt their entire authentication attempt, or several smaller strikes at key points in their formation. Chen moved to the center of the bridge, her decision already forming. The Imperial fleet's adaptation had created a pivotal moment. Success or failure would hinge on their next move. We go with precision over power. Atlas, identify the 3 most crucial nodes in their authentication network. Dr. Park, configure our quantum pulses to mimic their new protocols, but with subtle errors that will cascade through their system. Through the viewport, distant flashes of weapons fire illuminated space as Imperial ships continued to react to phantom threats. Their mighty Armada, pride of the Empire, was experiencing something its commanders had never planned for. the inability to trust their own systems. "Quantum pulses ready," Park announced. "But Commander, once we do this, the engine strain will be critical. We'll either have to power down for repairs or risk a complete system failure." Chen's expression remained resolute. "Then we make sure these shots count. Prepare to execute on my mark. It's time to show the Empire that sometimes the smallest disruption can create the largest destruction." The Starcutter's quantum engine pulsed with an ominous frequency as they prepared their precision strikes. Through the bridge viewport, the scattered remnants of the Imperial fleet's formation twinkled like disturbed fireflies, their positions now random and uncertain. 3 primary targets identified, Atlas announced, highlighting key vessels in the tactical display. "These command ships are coordinating the new authentication protocols. Disrupting them simultaneously should create maximum confusion in their network." Dr. Park's fingers danced across her console, making final adjustments to their quantum signals. "I've configured each pulse to match their new protocols perfectly, except for one crucial parameter: when their systems try to compensate for the discrepancy. The correction algorithms will overcompensate," Rodriguez finished, monitoring the engine's power levels. "Quantum core temperature rising. We'll have about 30 seconds at full power before we risk a cascade failure." Commander Chen studied the tactical display, watching as the Imperial fleet attempted to reorganize itself. Their enemy's adaptation had been impressive, but it would prove their undoing. "Lieutenant Hayes, plot an attack vector that keeps us within Jupiter's magnetic field. We'll use it to mask our approach." "Course plotted," Hayes confirmed. "The gas giant's radiation should help conceal our energy signature, but we'll need perfect timing to hit all 3 targets before they can react." Chen nodded, feeling the familiar tension before a decisive action. "Atlas, synchronize our attack with the next radiation surge from Jupiter. Dr. Park, prepare to release the quantum pulses on my mark. Lieutenant Rodriguez, divert all non-essential power to the engine core." The bridge fell silent as final preparations were made. Through the viewport, Jupiter's massive form loomed behind them, its swirling storms promising cover for their desperate gambit. The Imperial fleet continued its attempts to establish new communication protocols, unaware of the trap about to be sprung. "Radiation surge from Jupiter in 10 seconds," Atlas reported. 8, 7. "Quantum pulses aligned," Park announced. "Signal patterns matched to their authentication protocols. Engine core at maximum safe capacity," Rodriguez added. "Any more power, and we risk total system failure." 3, 2, 1. "Execute," Chen ordered. The Starcutter's modified arrays fired in perfect synchronization, releasing 3 precisely calibrated quantum pulses. Each pulse threaded its way through space, carrying carefully crafted errors that would multiply through the Imperial fleet's network. "Direct hits on all 3 targets," Hayes reported. "Their authentication systems are attempting to process our signals." On the tactical display, the effect spread like a digital wildfire. Ships that had been cautiously re-establishing communication suddenly found their authentication protocols failing in subtle but critical ways. The careful organization they had been building collapsed as vessel after vessel received contradictory identification signals. "It's working better than we anticipated," Park exclaimed, watching the cascade of failures spread. "Their correction algorithms are actually amplifying the errors, creating a feedback loop in their entire network." But victory came with a price. The Starcutter's engine core screamed in protest, its experimental systems pushed far beyond their limits. "Commander, quantum containment is failing," Rodriguez warned. "We need to power down now, or we'll lose the engine entirely." Before Chen could respond, Atlas interrupted with urgent news. "Imperial vessels are firing on each other. Their targeting systems have completely lost the ability to distinguish friend from foe. Multiple capital ships reporting critical damage." Through the viewport, they watched as the mighty Imperial fleet turned its impressive firepower upon itself. Ships that had been attempting to coordinate now saw each other as the greatest threat, their sophisticated weapons unleashing devastation on their own allies. "Power down the quantum engine," Chen ordered. "We've done enough. Let them destroy themselves." As the Starcutter's systems wound down, the bridge crew watched in amazement as their plan reached its devastating conclusion. The Imperial fleet, pride of an empire that spanned galaxies, was tearing itself apart from within. "Commander," Hayes said quietly, "I'm detecting multiple reactor breaches in their capital ships. The chain reaction, it's spreading through their entire formation." The bridge of the Starcutter fell silent as they watched destruction spread through the Imperial fleet. Capital ships, their targeting systems hopelessly corrupted, fired continuous salvos at perceived threats that were actually their own support vessels. The space around Jupiter had become a battlefield where every ship fought shadows of their own creation. "Atlas, status report on the Imperial command structure," Commander Chen ordered, her voice steady despite the chaos unfolding before them. The AI's hologram flickered as it processed the rapidly changing tactical data. "The Eternal Dominion has lost all effective control over its battle groups. 15% of their capital ships have suffered critical damage. Their formation has completely collapsed into isolated combat clusters." Dr. Park worked frantically at her station, analyzing the cascade of events they had set in motion. "The authentication failures are mutating beyond our original parameters. Their attempts to reset the system are only making it worse. Each new security protocol they try introduces more conflicts into their network." "Multiple reactor breaches detected," Lieutenant Hayes reported, his hands moving across the helm controls to keep them clear of the expanding destruction. "The damaged vessels are causing the chain reaction. Their safety protocols are offline." Through the viewport, they watched as Imperial ships, their hulls gleaming with advanced alloys that had never known defeat, turned their impressive arsenals against one another. Friendly fire became indistinguishable from actual attacks as their targeting computers spiraled further into chaos. "Commander," Rodriguez called from engineering, "the quantum engine is cooling, but I'm detecting unusual energy readings from the Imperial vessels. Their quantum communication arrays are overloading. The feedback loop we created is growing beyond their control." Chen studied the tactical display, watching as more and more enemy ships succumbed to the chaos. The mighty Armada that had threatened Earth was now its own worst enemy. "Atlas, project potential casualties if this continues. At current rates of escalation, 70% of the Imperial fleet will be severely damaged or destroyed within the next 15 minutes. Their remaining vessels will be combat ineffective due to systems failure." A massive explosion lit up space as one of the Imperial dreadnoughts lost containment of its main reactor. The blast triggered a series of secondary explosions among nearby ships, their defensive screens already weakened by friendly fire. "Incoming transmission," Hayes announced suddenly. "It's being broadcast on all frequencies. Source appears to be the Eternal Dominion." Chen nodded. "Let's hear it." The bridge speakers crackled with a voice filled with equal parts rage and disbelief. "This is High Admiral Nexus of the Imperial Fleet. To all vessels, emergency shutdown of all targeting and communication systems. Repeat, full shutdown of all combat systems. Authentication code, Imperial Prime 1. "Too late," Park observed, monitoring the ongoing cascade of failures. "Their ships can't distinguish authentic commands from false ones anymore. Every order they send just adds to the confusion." The tactical display showed the truth of her words. Only a handful of Imperial ships responded to the shutdown command. The rest, their systems too corrupted to recognize legitimate orders, continued their relentless self-destruction. "New energy spike detected," Atlas warned. "The Eternal Dominion's main reactor is approaching critical levels. Blast radius will affect approximately 20% of their remaining fleet." Chen made a quick decision. "Lieutenant Hayes, take us to safe distance. Dr. Park, record everything. The Empire needs to understand exactly what happened here." The Starcutter moved away from the chaos, its mission accomplished beyond their wildest expectations. Behind them, the pride of the Imperial fleet continued its death spiral, decades of technological superiority undone by the simple inability to trust their own systems. "Commander," Rodriguez said quietly, "we just changed the face of space warfare forever. No one will ever look at quantum communications the same way again." Chen watched as another series of explosions lit up the space around Jupiter. "No, Lieutenant. We just proved that the most powerful fleet in the galaxy can be defeated by understanding its own complexity. Sometimes, the greatest weakness isn't in the technology. It's in trusting it too much." 3 hours after their initial strike, the Starcutter's bridge crew watched the final aftermath of their victory unfold. The space around Jupiter had become a graveyard of Imperial technology, with damaged and powerless ships drifting among the debris of their destroyed companions. "Final analysis, Atlas," Commander Chen requested, her voice soft but clear in the hushed atmosphere of the bridge. The AI's hologram displayed updated statistics as it reported. Imperial fleet combat effectiveness reduced to 0. 45% of their vessels destroyed, 30% critically damaged, and the remaining 25% have initiated complete systems shutdown to avoid destruction. The Eternal Dominion's reactor breach took out their entire command structure. Dr. Park stood at her station, still monitoring the quantum readings from the battlefield. "The disruption patterns we created will take weeks to clear from their networks. Even if they repair their ships, they can't trust their communication systems anymore. The quantum entanglement corruption is too deeply embedded." "Multiple distress signals detected," Lieutenant Hayes reported from the helm. "Escape pods and survival craft are launching from the damaged vessels. They're requesting emergency assistance." Chen straightened in her command chair. "Transmit our coordinates to Earth Defense Command. The rescue ships they're sending will need guidance through this debris field." She paused, then added, "and inform them we'll stay to assist with recovery operations." Lieutenant Rodriguez emerged from the engine room, his uniform showing signs of his battle with their overtaxed systems. "The quantum engine is stabilizing, Commander. We lost some capabilities, but the core technology is intact. We can maintain basic operations while the systems cool down." Through the viewport, they could see Imperial escape pods firing their thrusters, their occupants choosing surrender over death. The mighty Armada that had threatened Earth now served as a monument to the dangers of over-reliance on complex systems. "Commander," Atlas interrupted, "incoming transmission from Earth Defense Command. Priority 1. "Put it through," Chen ordered. Admiral Zhang's hologram appeared on the bridge, his expression a mixture of disbelief and pride. "Commander Chen, your data streams have been analyzed. I don't think I need to tell you the significance of what you've accomplished today. The Imperial fleet, their entire invasion force, was defeated by understanding their greatest strength." "Admiral," Chen completed. "Their perfect coordination became perfect chaos. Their unshakable trust in their systems became their downfall. The implications are staggering," Zhang continued. "Every major power in the galaxy will have to reassess their military doctrine. Quantum communication networks, automated targeting systems, synchronized fleet operations. Everything changes after today." Park spoke up from her station. "Admiral, we should expect the Empire to adapt. They'll develop countermeasures, find ways to protect their networks from similar attacks." "Let them try," Rodriguez interjected. "They'll have to sacrifice either coordination or security. Either way, they lose their main advantage." Chen stood, looking out at the field of debris and disabled ships that had once been the pride of the Imperial fleet. "They'll adapt, yes, but so will we. The galaxy needs to understand that humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology. It's our ability to think beyond it." "Rescue ships are entering the system," Hayes announced. "Earth Defense Command is dispatching engineering teams to study the disabled Imperial vessels." Chen nodded, feeling the weight of the moment. The Starcutter's experimental technology had changed the face of space warfare forever, but it was human insight that had made it possible. Their victory would be studied for generations, not just for its tactical brilliance, but for its profound lesson about the relationship between civilization and its tools. Commander, Atlas said, Earth Defense Command is requesting your presence for a full debriefing. They're already calling this the Battle of Jupiter. The Empire's defeat will be remembered as a turning point in human history. No, Chen corrected, watching as the first rescue ships began their work. It will be remembered as the day humanity proved that understanding complexity is more powerful than creating it. Send word to Earth Defense Command. We'll return once we've helped rescue the survivors. After all, showing mercy to a defeated enemy is another human strength the Empire needs to learn.